Welcome to Politics and Video Games, our second episode, where we're going to talk about the gun debate and the gun issue and everything that's going on with the guns and well, not everything, but a basic overview of the two sides of the gun issue, whether we should have guns, or everybody should have guns, or some people should have guns, and what that means for our country. And to celebrate that gun episode, we're going to play Enter the Gungeon. I like this game a lot, but I have not put enough time in it to be really good or good at all. I only have about 20 hours in it right now, and that's me sporadically playing every once in a while. I do like roguelites, but I haven't played this one much, unfortunately, so excuse me if the gameplay is not the best this episode. I'll let you all watch the opening, and then we will get to the topic. Okay, so I'll explain the game a little bit, then we'll get it started. So basically, sorry, just checking my buttons here. But basically, every time you play, if you're not familiar with roguelites, you start with a randomly generated kind of layout for each of the kind of floors you go through or levels that you go through, and so the items be all randomized, the room layout, everything like that. And this game is one of the harder roguelites I've played. I think it's harder than The Binding of Isaac, which is one of my favorites, probably the favorite of mine that I've had like lots and lots of hours in. And so in this game, it's a little bit different though. In order to get a health up, you need to a permanent health up for the red HP. You need to beat the boss without getting hit at all. Otherwise, you will not get that. And to get credits to unlock more weapons and things like that, you need to beat bosses. So this game is heavily dependent on your skill level. And you want to get better, you got to play better if you want more stuff. So I like to start off by kind of reading, my student news daily. Last time we went there too, we're gonna go there this time. Also the start of both sides of the gun issue and where we stand. So liberals on the gun control issue, they believe that the Second Amendment does not give citizens the right to keep and bear arms, but only allows for the state to keep a militia, which is the National Guard. Individuals do not need guns for protection. It is the role of the local and federal government to protect the people through law enforcement agencies and military. Additional gun control laws are necessary to stop gun violence and limit the ability of criminals to obtain guns. More guns means more violence. Conservative beliefs are the Second Amendment gives citizens the right to keep and bear arms. Individuals have the right to defend themselves. There are too many gun control laws. Additional laws will not lower gun criminal crime rates. What is needed is enforcement of current laws. Gun control laws do not prevent criminals from obtaining guns. More guns in the hands of law-abiding citizens means less crime. So I'm going to start off by amending, because I don't believe with the liberal side on this one at all. So we're going to amend that side, because I know I probably fit on the liberal side of things. Maybe I fit on the conservative side, I don't know. I'll let you decide. I agree, I will read the Second Amendment, but I agree that I think the Second Amendment was really talking about militias, and maybe not so much the ability of people to defend themselves against other people, which seems to be a big reason for gun laws now. I believe that sometimes individuals, when you're in a situation where somebody has a gun, the only way to protect yourself is to have a gun. So I don't agree with that as far as individuals not need guns for protection. I don't trust the government to protect us or the police force to protect us, because where I'm from, it takes quite a while for the police to get to where you are. about 15 minutes. And if you're in a situation, I don't know if you ever have been scared or anything like that, but imagine somebody pointing a gun at you and you have to wait 15 minutes to get help. That's a long time. You're probably dead, honestly. You may live that violent, but if they want to kill you, they're going to kill you at that time. Nothing could stop that. And I do believe that additional gun control laws are needed to stop gun violence and limit the ability of criminals to obtain guns. Not so much the criminals, but to stop gun violence. I think we need more laws, yes. And to jump on the conservative side of things, we're going to go ahead and read what the Second Amendment says right now. And the Second Amendment says, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And so that first part was talking about the militia, but you can I guess go off what they were talking about and what they meant, being security of a free state. I don't think that the guns that civilians have currently are for any type of protection against anything. The amount of military spending and the amount of weapons they have and the type of weapons that the military has and the caliber and just the sheer numbers, I think we would have no chance fighting against the military no matter how many guns we have, be it our military or foreign military, as civilians. And so I think people that say that we need these guns to fight against our government or to fight against our government or to fight against things or beings that would challenge our freedom, they're incorrect in the fact that guns would not protect us at all. And I don't think they will come protect us. So I pulled up a couple of statistics here regarding gun violence because that's what everybody cares about when they talk about gun control. They don't care about people, law-abiding citizens that are having guns and not hurting anybody, protecting anybody. We care about the people who are hurting people with guns. And it's hard to find statistics that I feel like are kind of unbiased and come from trustworthy sources. So some of these are kind of old, some of these are kind of random. This one comes from the BBC News, and it's from January 5th of 2016. The mass shootings. There were 372 mass shootings in the U.S. in 2015, killing 475 people and wounding 1,870, according to the mass shooting tracker, which catalogs such incidents. A mass shooting is defined as a single shooting incident which kills or injures 4 or more people, including the assailant. School shootings. There were 64 school shootings in 2015, according to a dedicated campaign group set in the wake of Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre in Connecticut in 2012. Those figures include occasions when a gun was fired when no one was hurt. All shootings. Some 13,286 people were killed in the U.S. by firearms in 2015, according to Gun Violence Archive, and 26,819 people were injured. Those figures exclude suicide. Those figures are likely to rise by several hundred once incidents in the final week of the year are counted. How the U.S. compares. The number of gun murders per capita in the U.S. in 2012, the most recent year for comparable statistics, was nearly 30 times that in the UK, at 2.9 per 100,000 compared with just 0.1. All of the murders in the U.S. 2012, 60% were by firearm compared with 31% in Canada, 18.2% in Australia, and just 10% in the UK. The home front. So many people died only from gunfire in the U.S. that the death toll between 1968 and 2011 eclipses all wars ever fought by the country, according to research Blood Effect. There were about 1.4 million firearm deaths in the period, compared with 1.2 million U.S. deaths in every conflict from the War of Independence to Iraq. The number of guns. No official figure exists, but there are thought to be about 300 million guns in the U.S., about a third of the population. That is nearly enough guns for every man, woman, and child in the country. Oh, I'm sorry. There's about 300 million guns. 300 million in the U.S. Held by about a third of the population. So, a third of the population holds 300 million guns. The NRA, the right to own guns, is regarded by many as enshrined in the Second Amendment of the Constitution, and fiercely defended by the lobby groups such as the National Rifle Association, which boasted that its membership surged to around 5 million in the aftermath of the Sandy Hook school shooting. Gun violence and terrorism. The U.S. spends more than $1 trillion per year defending itself against terrorism, which kills a tiny fraction number of people killed by ordinary gun crime. According to the U.S. Department of Justice and the Council of Foreign Affairs, 11,385 people died on average annually in firearm incidents in the U.S. between 2001 and 2011. In the same period, an average of 517 people were killed annually in terror-related incidents. Removing 2001, when 9/11 occurred, from the calculation produces an annual average of just about 31 people. So we have it's just for that last statistic, and I'll go back up. We have a big problem being guns more than terrorism, and I feel like we spend a lot more time, money, and effort in this country fighting the terrorists when really they're not the people that are killing us, as opposed to homicides and shootings and things like that. I will get to the NRA later. I feel like they're their own separate topic along with lobbying and how that affects the country. Let's talk about the total number of guns. So there's about 300 million guns out there. 300 million guns, and about a third of the population has them, and that's a pretty big figure. So let's say today we outlaw guns, right? No more guns. I feel like it's too late. It's much too late for that. There's just too many guns out there. If we say no guns, then I agree with, I think, the Republican side of the issue, that we just have people on these who would feel confident knowing that the law-abiding people didn't have guns and the criminals have access to all these guns. So I don't think the right thing as of now, being the situation we are in, is to outlaw guns. Now, if we could have done it a long time ago, I'd be on board to outlaw the guns and say nobody needs guns. But so far as we are now, I do not believe that, getting rid of guns is the best thing to do, considering the standpoint we're in. But I'll go up a little bit more in this article. The comparisons between, I would like to know the number of murders that happen in the UK compared to US. In fact, let's look that up right now. Number of homicides by country. And so we'll see, we'll try to find out if maybe we will have more homicides than that. So United States, we have about 4.9 per 100,000 people are murdered. That's where the UK stands. At just 0.9. So we do have a much higher homicide rate than the UK. And that's probably due to guns. I wouldn't. The UK does have some very strict laws as to weapons in general, but if it's protecting people, I understand. I do understand. I don't think you can argue that whether you think guns kill people, because they don't. They are just a tool, but they're a tool meant to kill, and it's very easy to kill with a gun. Extremely easy to kill with a gun. And whether you believe that's a tool or not, a problem or not, you have to realize that they are being used to hurt many people. So I think everybody should be on the gun control to stop these people who are hurting people with guns, no matter how you think it needs to get fixed. But if you say no more gun control, then I think you have a problem. I think you're maybe a little bit delusional. I have another statistic here from, this is from factcheck.org, and it's on the gun debate. This is posted on March 5th, 2018, updated on March 6th. And so a Senator Christopher Murphy said that in states that have universal background checks, there are 35% less gun murders than in states that don't have them. That is true, but this article points to the fact that that doesn't mean that universal background check laws have caused lower mortality rates, and that a causal relationship between such state laws and firearms hasn't been established by researchers. So that's true. I mean, it makes sense. It would make sense to me, but I understand that correlation and causation are not always the same. Things haven't always been linked. I could say that, I don't know. I'm not gonna make a fake statistic now, but it probably has something to do with that. I don't understand why anybody would be against universal background checks, considering that why would they want people who don't pass a background check to get a gun? Were they expected to affect, or were they wanted not to affect? That would be my question to them. I know people are against it. They don't want anything to stop people from getting guns, but we're trying to stop dangerous people from getting guns, if anything. And we do have, again, this article from factcheck.org on the gun debate does correctly state that among high-income countries, we do have a violent death rate for firearms that is about 4 times higher than any other country. Probably because we have so many guns. That's what I would say. You can call whatever issue you want, but I don't think people need guns. Not everybody needs a gun. There's a lot of crazy people. There's a lot of stupid people. There's a lot of people who don't know what to do with themselves. A lot of people that just don't need the ability to hurt and kill other people so quickly and easily. Yes, other things can kill you, but they're not going to kill you as quickly as a gun. So we're just doing a basic overview here. We're not going to dig too deep in this issue, and we're just going to do a really basic cleaning of the surface. We could talk about how to regulate guns. Who should have guns. You know, as far as the background checks go. We could talk about special interest groups stopping researching the guns, but I think we just need to talk about the basic issue, which is, should we have guns? Let's talk about the ideal situation. Should we have guns? In a situation where nobody in the country has guns, or making a law in this new country, should we have guns in that country? And I say no. I say no because I feel like guns are they can be used too easily for bad things. There could be kids that get to grab the guns. There could be somebody wants to use a gun to harm people. I feel like guns are not the right way to protect the citizens. I think there needs to be other methods, and I think that they're just a little too dangerous. You can't give everybody a nuke. You can't say, because, oh yeah, people have nukes now, so everybody gets a nuke. That way, when the guy that has a nuke threatens you, you say, oh, I have nukes to blow up the country. It's kind of how the politics are going now in the world. But, no, perfect country, I say no guns. No guns. And where we stand now in the U.S., limit guns. Severely limit guns. Let me see. I'm gonna look these up now because I don't know much about firearms. So let's see. I'm looking up what you have to do. You just need to get a gun. What you're required to have to buy a gun. And I'm in Ohio, so let me look it up for Ohio. Okay, so to buy a gun, this is from WikiHow. You cannot be under the influence of drugs and alcohol when you go to the dealership. You can buy a handgun at 21 or 18, and not if you're from justice or are not convicted of a felony or drug offense. I don't know why drug offense. I disagree with that. We'll come back to that. Or not dependent on drugs, alcohol, and if you're not mentally ill. Okay. So I need is a form of identification. Visit a gun dealership that is fully licensed. You will be subject to a background check. However, if you buy a gun from a private seller or licensed dealership, you are not required to perform a background check. So, what's the... And then you take your gun home. So what's in that background check? Just to see you don't have a felony? And then my other question is, what's the benefit of being a licensed gun dealership? Then if you're... Okay, so I get this from the government, atf.gov, on do I need a license to buy and sell firearms? And I kind of rushed through this a little bit, but it says a general rule: you will need a license if you repetitively buy and sell firearms with the principal motive of making a profit. In contrast, if you only make occasional sales of firearms from your personal collection, you do not need to be licensed. Courts have identified several factors relevant to determining on which side of that line your activities may fall, including whether you represent yourself as a dealer in firearms, whether you are repetitively buying and selling firearms, circumstances under which you are selling firearms, and whether you're looking to make a profit. Note that while quantity and frequency of sales are relevant indicators, courts have upheld convictions for dealing without a license when as few as 2 firearms were sold, or when only 1 or 2 transactions took place. Other factors were also present. So, if you try to make it a dude as a living, then you can't. But if you go to like a gun show or something, you're just selling some guns, then you do not need a license. And I don't know how they would track that, honestly. I guess if you could repeatedly go to shows and sell things, then they got you. But I wouldn't understand why, if we're trying to limit who gets guns, obviously by having background checks and things, then we should also limit the who gets guns in private sale when it's privately sold. It's still a dangerous tool. It still can be used to hurt somebody. It still could be, that could be the method that the person you're trying to stop, the criminal, the mentally ill person, the felony charged person gets a gun. It's through these private sellers. And you can't simply just say, no, don't do it, and expect people not to do it. So, no. So it appears to be very easy to get a gun. I remember this episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, one of my favorite shows. And it was, I don't know how many gun episodes they had. They had about 2 of them, maybe. But I'm thinking about the one where Frank makes a big uproar about guns, and he makes a lot of money at Gunther's gun shop. And was it Mac and Charlie and D and Dennis flip sides on the gun issue and come to different conclusions because D and Dennis go to a gun show and they try to point a gun at somebody, and everybody in the gun show points a gun at them, showing how powerful other people with guns are. And Charlie and Mac put some weapons in the hands of children and see how chaotic and terrible guns can be. And I feel like we're already in the situation where we merge both, and people who will protect people have guns, and the people who will cause chaos also have guns. So let's talk about that. So being in that situation we are now, besides besides universal background checks being the first thing we could do. What's the second thing? I would say definitely limit the types of guns that are sold. Definitely the types of guns that are sold. And you know, just because I don't know off the top of my head gun names, things like that, I want to pull up an article here. Types of guns. Types of firearms. So this is pewpewtactical.com. Types of guns, 3 types you need to know. We have a pistol. We have a rifle. And we have a shotgun. You're not gonna like this, but I say maybe take everything down to a pistol. People are only allowed to buy pistols, and we'll give like a, let's say you can use, let's see, a top break rifle for hunting, and maybe just one type, and make it so that it can't rapidly fire, you know, that way you can, the hunters out there, you can, I don't agree with it, but you can still hunt, and you just have to make that 1 or 2 shots to get really count and be very accurate. And that way you want to have people with these other weapons that can just spray and hurt people and shoot relatively quickly, and then definitely limit the amount of the types of pistols. Also, we want pistols that just shoot a couple shots, not that can be reloaded very quickly and shot rapidly and things like that. People don't need that to defend themselves. If you're shooting at somebody who's coming at you, you don't need that many shots, honestly. You really don't, unless you're shooting. I mean, unless you're trying to kill the person and load them up with bullets and things. We don't need this. There's too many people getting hurt out there. Some people have guns pulling on them. It's too much. And even a pistol can kill somebody. I remember recently I saw, unfortunately, a video on Facebook where this one girl was playing around with a gun. Obviously, I've been in a gun range one time in my life. Obviously, I had no type of gun training, because the first thing they told me is never point a gun at another person. Ever, unless plan to shoot that person. And that's what she did. She pointed that she was playing around, pointing a gun at the person's head. The man said, "Don't do that. I feel like you're ready to shoot me. You're playing around with me." The guy in the back seat said, "Oh, there's no guns in there. There's no guns in. There's no bullets in the clip. It's empty, whatever." And then she shot him in the head. Shot the poor man in the head, and he started bleeding out. And it was very horrific, honestly. But no, and that was just a regular pistol. So so we have another thing on popular mechanics. So why do regular people need rifles? I can only think the only thing is to hunt, I guess. I don't know why you need a shotgun to hunt people. So, I mean, to hunt people. See, yeah, here we go. To hunt animals. And then no. We don't need all these things. These are obviously not to protect yourselves. These are to hurt people. That's what these guns are for. And that's why we use them in war. That's what they were made for. And I know they can be fun to shoot, and I know you can feel powerful and all that stuff, give you a rush, but it's not worth it. The fun is not worth, all these deaths. It's not. So limit the type of guns that we have just to a pistol. And then limit the type of pistol, limit the type of rifle, like to be very slow shooting, and slow to reload, and only have a couple of bullets in there that you can mount to shoot. And then stop people from modifying weapons to do other things that they're not intended to do. Modifying the weapons to shoot faster or to be more damaging and more hurtful. You have no reason to rapid fire a gun. No civilian has that need. yes, it's fun, but it can be used to hurt people, and it's not like I don't want the government regulating all of our lives to the tiny T. I don't think that you should be barred from having a gun just because you had one drug charge, or you were on drugs or sold drugs or whatever. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to hurt people at all. And maybe felonies and that are violent felonies that are being the ones that would be most likely to hurt someone. I lost my train of thought here. But yeah, I don't want the government to regulate every little thing, but these are things that should be regulated because they can easily be used to hurt people. And yeah, you can use a car to hurt people, but a car's primarily means it's for transportation, right? And you can hurt people if you run into a group of people, and somebody recently did that with a van, I believe. He killed about 8 people or so like that, but in these countries they don't have as many guns as us. You don't see that. You don't see that high mortality rate. You don't see people doing these things. It's just, and I don't keep jumping topics here, but the gun that's only for killing. That's what it's for, and you can't deny that. And when you look at these things, it's not being. They're not doing more things with it to be able to kill more animals or to shoot more targets. You can't be accurate spraying at a target, you know. It's to kill more people, and that's the intention, to kill more people. And so we really need to limit that. And so we're going to talk about one more topic here before we close out and let another Gungeon play. I feel like I don't know where I am in this, but I feel like I started doing really well. I got my little groove. The beginning you saw I was messing up. I wasn't doing so hot, but I feel like I got my groove here and I was doing a little bit better. I'll talk a little bit like that. So there are some mechanics that I was overlooking and I was just playing around so I didn't care about. If you let a key stay on the ground, I believe it increases your chances. If you let a key stay on the ground, then you will have a key in the shop. If you don't do that, then there's no guarantee there's a key in the shop, and keys are valuable resources to get more items. And as far as the money goes, I believe you get, I'm not sure if it's for unless you have an item, but I think there's a coolness stat, and the better you do as far as not getting hit and things like that, the more likely you are to get more, credits and things like that. So I'm gonna look up one more thing to talk about here in this gun issue. So I don't know. Honestly, I don't know which is more lethal. You could say that if we get rid of guns, that people will start using knives. I'm not sure which people will, would drift toward guns versus knives, and if they, basically I'm trying to get at is which one is more lethal, honestly, guns or knives. And I would say that the top of my head that guns are more lethal, and that if we had knife crime, people would have more survivors. But that's something I couldn't possibly know. But just thinking about how many people are getting shot now, I have to believe that, one, you can't shoot as many people as you can knife. And if you are just killing one person with a gun, which does happen a lot, that if you had to knife them instead, that maybe they'd have the chance to, adrenaline would kick in, they could run while they're getting knifed, or I would hope they'd have some way of a better chance of fighting back than if they had a gun on them. And so for the next video on guns, I'm going to go into in detail and bring up some more statistics, and so I have that planned out. One, special interest groups that have blocked gun research. So talking about you, the NRA. 2, gun culture and maybe why we think guns are so fun and so cool, even though they're a tool used for killing, because we do glorify weapons. People glorify swords and guns and knives and things like that, and I understand to a point. And 3, I'll bring up statistics and we'll talk about who's most likely to use a gun to kill somebody and kind of talk about that kind of person and their mindset. So thank you for going on this video, listening to this video from me, and engaging this topic. Please leave some comments and on this video and what side of the debate you're on, what side you are for more guns, less guns, what type of guns, and if I missed something or you feel like I didn't cover something and you don't like the way I argued something, please argue with me and I'm willing to listen to you. And like I said before in the first video, I can be changed. My viewpoints are not static. The more information we get, the more we learn. I feel like our views need to change with that. So if you have some information, I'd be happy to listen to it. And so the next video will either be on immigration or it will be on the Bible. And I'm leaning towards the Bible because I just have a lot to say on that topic, more than immigration. But we'll see. Maybe the immigration one will be a more brief episode. Please keep watching Enter the Gungeon. I had a great time playing it and look forward to playing some more. Thank you very much.